Hi, I'm Mike Hughes, and today we're going to go over working with rescue horses on how to rebuild their trust, their confidence, and their faith in people again. This is Bella. Bella is off the track. She was sold to a feedlot kill pen by the racetrack. She just wasn't racing very well, and she got sold to the feedlot, the kill pen, where the new owners bought her. When she got here, she had a lot of anxiety, and she had some other issues from her past abuse, neglect, and abandonment. And so today we're going to go over and start showing you and talking about more about rescue horses and horses that have suffered abuse from the past, and how we can start really rebuilding their trust, their confidence, and their faith in people again. So when you get a rescue horse, you always have to keep in mind that you can't change the horse's past no more than you could change what you had for breakfast this morning. But what you can do is change their future. And you're going to change their future by building new muscle memories. And horses can overcome their past. They can overcome those bad, haunting memories from the past abuse and abandonment and being neglected. They can overcome all that, but we've got to start building new muscle memories so they learn how to start trusting again, how to start having confidence in people again, and start having faith in people again. And some of the really good exercises I like, and we've done this with Bella here, is called the head down cue, where I start dropping their head and teaching them how to lower their head. And when horses lower their head, they automatically start relaxing. When we see horses are scared, nervous, excited, or higher than a kite, their heads are always up here somewhere. All right, you don't see them with their heads down on the ground. And it's a great cue that I teach with every horse that I have in training, because it's an automatic calm down cue. When I ask them to drop their heads, they automatically relax. And we could do this from the ground, and we also teach it under saddle, as you'll see with Bella here in a little bit, is teaching her this under saddle. So going back to rescue horses, there's a lot of rescue horses out there that do have triggers. Triggers meaning the slightest movement, the slightest touch can set them off. Or, if we pick up a whip, like with Bella, how she used to pick up a whip, and she would start having really bad anxiety from being beat in the past. And that would go with any other animal, any person. They're always going to have those haunting memories from the past, and it's up to us to teach them how to overcome those haunting memories from the past and start rebuilding trust and confidence again. So one of the exercises I really like, we're just talking about, is the head down cue. So when I start teaching the horses how to drop their heads, I'm going to watch the tip of the ear. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure right here on the lead rope. I'm going to watch the tip of the ear, and as soon as the tip of the ear drops just a quarter of an inch, then I'll go ahead and release the pressure. It's always the pressure that asks them to do the things we want them to do, and it's a release that tells them they got the right answer and did a good job. So I'm going to put a little bit of downward pressure right here on the lead rope. I'm going to watch the tip of the ear, and as soon as the tip of the ear drops even a quarter of an inch, I'm going to go ahead and release the pressure. So I'll put a little bit of pressure here, and if it just drops a quarter of an inch, like Bella just did, I'll go ahead and release it, telling her she got the answer right and did a good job. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of pressure right here, watch the tip of the ear, and as soon as that tip of the ear drops just a little bit, I'll go ahead and release the pressure. So Bella obviously already knows this exercise, because we worked with this exercise many times on her when she first got here. And so she knows this exercise, but with some horses that don't, you might have to leave a half a pound of pressure right here on the lead line until they do drop their heads about a quarter of an inch. And sometimes they do it right away. Sometimes they'll take their heads up even higher. And if they take up their head even higher, make sure you watch the tip of the ear. And as soon as the tip of the ear drops even a quarter of an inch, even if they already put their heads up here, even if it drops a quarter of an inch, then go ahead and release the pressure, because the head just went in the direction you wanted it to go in. So also always remember, the horse's head, any part of their body, can only go in 6 different directions. It go left, right, up, down, forward, and back. And what we're doing is we're just putting pressure until that part of the body goes in the direction we want it to go in. So again, I'm going to watch the tip of the ear and put a little bit of pressure on the lead line here. And as soon as the tip of the ear drops even a quarter of an inch, I'm going to go ahead and release the pressure. What's going to happen after a while is I'll be able to get the horse's head down further, and further. And here, any horse is going to be nice, calm, relaxed. You're going to start chewing, licking and chewing a lot. That shows calmness and relaxation. Some horses will really start yawning a lot, and that shows a lot of relaxation as well. So this is a great exercise to teach any horse, but especially when it comes to rescue horses that have been beaten, abused in the past. We're rebuilding new muscle memories. And when we're rebuilding the new muscle memories, working on regaining their trust, confidence, and faith in people again, there can't be any pain, fear, or force involved in that part of the, or in any training as far as that goes. But there can't be any pain, fear, or force in the training. All that's going to do is cause the horse to be more afraid of us, and we're never going to get anywhere with them. And pain, fear, and force should never be involved in any type of horse training at all. Only, a step-by-step program that we can teach the horse step-by-step on the lesson, and that the horse can understand in a calm, relaxed manner. So again, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the lead line here, downward pressure. I'm going to watch the tip of that ear. As soon as the tip of the ear drops even 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to go ahead and release. And when your horse starts doing this and they start dropping their head, they may bring their head right back up again, which is normal, and that's fine. But you'll just keep asking them to keep dropping their head, and eventually they're going to leave it at what elevation that you had them drop their heads down to. We often get rescue horses in that are head and ear shy. They've been beat in the face or in the head, and the fear is something on or above the horse's head and ears, which makes them head and ear shy. And this is a great first pre-step to getting your horses out of being head and ear shy, is if I could drop their head, because all of a sudden I'm above their head and ears. So it's a great pre-step to getting overcoming head and ear shyness. So this is one of my favorite exercises, teaching them how to drop their head. Another good one, I'm going to go ahead and turn Bella sideways here. Come here, Bella. Oh. So another really good exercise is just teaching them how to flex. And what I do is I'll find a spot right here on Bella's shoulder, and that's where I'm going to lock my hand down on it when I want her to flex. So I'm going to pick up the lead line right about in here, and I'm going to lock my hand down on that spot. And when she's soft and there's slack in the lead line, then I'm going to go ahead and release her. The reason I lock my hand down on her shoulder, find a place on her shoulder and lock my hand down on, is because if I lock my hand down, I can't be pulling on her. She could pull on me, but I can't pull on her. And if we lock our hand down, eventually, when there's slack in the lead rope, we go ahead and release the pressure. She's just going to get lighter and lighter and lighter, like Bella is right now. She's just super, super light, and it's because we worked on this a number of times. The problem is, if I try to start asking her to flex from out here, my hand's in midair, I can't help but to pull on her. All right, so you don't want to do that, because you can't help but to pull on them, and then they're not going to really learn how to flex and give to the pressure in a calm, relaxed manner. And if I lock my hand down here on her shoulder, I can go ahead and ask her to flex. My hand's locked down, so I can't be pulling on her. And then, of course, we want to do this on both directions, on both sides of the horse. Having her flex to the left, now we're going to do it to the right. And again, I'm going to find a spot on her shoulder. I'm going to run my hand down the lead line, and I'm going to lock my hand down on that spot. When she's nice and soft and there's slack in the line, in the lead line, I'm going to go ahead and release her. Now, if there wasn't slack in the lead line, that means I have my hand locked on her shoulder. That means she's pulling against me, and I'm not going to release her until there's some type of slack in the lead rope. When there's slack in the lead rope, that means she's not pulling on me. And again, you would not want to try to get her to, any horse, to start flexing, just having your hand in midair, because you can't help but to pull on them. All right, so those are 3 exercises right off the bat that you can start working with your rescue horses on, is teaching them how to drop their head, and then flexing to the left and to the right. And as you're teaching them how to drop their head, let's see, you teach them how to flex to the left and to the right first. Then you teach them how to drop their head. Then you'd want to do all 3. You just wouldn't want to just flex them or just drop their head. You'd want to drop their head, then flex them, then drop their head and flex them, so they learn all 3 ways really well, but only do 1 exercise at a time until the horse really knows how to flex to the left, to the right, then go to the head down cue. So when you do get rescue horses in, another thing you really want to do is you really want to spend a lot of personal time with those rescue horses. When they're eating, just come out, don't expect anything of them. You can go ahead and start petting them. If they're okay with you petting them on the neck, here, come over. Come here, babe. So you go out there while they're eating, you go ahead and pet them, tell them they're doing really good. They're doing really nice, and don't expect anything out of them, and to spend a lot of personal time with them. A lot of my clients, when they've gotten horses from the kill pen or the feedlot, they bring them home, and we'll just let them be out in pasture for maybe a week, maybe 10 days before we start doing anything with them, except for going out there feeding them again. If we can get around them, go around them, spend a lot of personal time with them. If you can't quite go around them and pet them, then the next best thing is just to go out there, stand maybe 10 feet back while they eat, and just kind of stand there and show them that you're not going to expect anything. Some of the issues we have with rescue horses, besides the horse being really scared to death of people, is when horses get neglected, they only get fed maybe once or twice a week. And what happens is the horses become very, very, very food aggressive, not only towards people, but towards other horses. And what's going on is the horse, it's been starved at times in its life, and the horse thinks it needs to protect its food. Other horses will become very, very, very aggressive. There was a stallion I had up in Nevada that I was going up there that was basically kept in an 8x10 stall, and when the people went in there, they would start beating on the stallion. One day he started fighting back, and the people ran, and he found out, hey, that's how I'm going to get rid of anybody around me, because they're always coming up to beat me. So if I start going after them, lunging after them, biting them, kicking them, rearing up, striking at them, they're going to run from me. So he found that as a way out from being beaten, abused, and no fault of the horse. It's never the horse's fault for what people have done with the abuse, abandonment, and neglecting them. It's no fault of the horse, but the horse found out, hey, that's how I could protect myself. So the new owners bought this stallion, and he was quite the handful, and it was very obvious that he was beat pretty badly. It took me almost a year of going out there once a week to where he could be, to where he finally became a really nice stallion, and you could pet him and love on him and get on and ride him, and he came out of it and did really, really, really well. But in the beginning, he was quite aggressive. You had to really watch your step around him. He had trigger points. One of his trigger points was right here on top of his head. His other trigger point was right here on his chest, and sometimes petting him on the neck was a trigger point. And when you put your hands in those areas, or he thought you were going to touch him in those areas, he'd turn around and grab you with his mouth, his teeth. He got me a couple of times. But we stuck in there, and in the end, he became a really, really, really great stallion, and he just became a really good boy. So there's always trigger points, and horses that get beaten, abused, they're going to have issues when we get them. And bring them home. Just realize there's going to be issues from their past abuse and neglect, abandonment. I know there's other horses I've worked with that the people found them in a abandoned barn, and the horses were standing in 3 feet of horse manure, 4 feet of horse manure, and the horses were skinny, really, really skinny. All the ribs showing, the backbone showing, the hip bone showing, and they rescued those horses, and those horses had some issues going on, not only food aggressive, but they're always, wary of people, and we were able to help those horses out. And then other horses that have been really abused and beat will become very standoffish. Some of them will become very depressed. But as long as I've been working with rescue horses for the last 31 years, building their confidence, their trust, their confidence, and their faith in people. Again, there hasn't been one single rescue horse I have not been able to help in restoring their confidence, trust, and faith in people again. Okay, so it's just a matter of how much time do you want to spend with these horses. Okay, so now we're going to go on to some other exercises here. With Bella, the next exercise we're going to do is called the change direction. It's a lunging exercise, and this will also help rescue horses, because it doesn't involve paying for a horse, which no training should ever involve those things. Only a lot of understanding, patience, and a sense of humor, breaking each lesson down step by step that the horse can understand in a calm, relaxed manner. Now we're going to go into doing the change of direction with Bella. Again, this is another exercise that I've already taught Bella in the past. She's done very, very well with it. It's called the change direction on the ground. When they first got Bella, she used to be able to race. She'd race around you, and this anxiety and stress a lot of anxiety and stress on her part. So we had to start teaching her to change direction. She was also very, very scared of the whip. And when horses are that scared of something, I won't start with those things, getting them used to the whip, or maybe my hand or a glove, or whatever the case may be, but I'll work up to it. But I'm not going to try, when I start using the whip to secure, to go forward, or whatever it is I'm doing with her, I'm not going to try to hide the whip from her at all. I'm going to let her know it's there with me and it's not going to hurt her. All right, so the change of direction, if you've got horses that are, just want to race around you, a lot of anxiety, stress going on. As soon as I change direction with Bella, and you'll see this here in a little bit, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But when you do the change direction, if your horse is racing around you and you do the change direction, they got to slow their speed down in order to change the direction. So let's say Bella's racing around me, and I'm going to start slowing her down by changing her direction. And every time I change her direction, she'll have to at least take a couple walk steps in the other direction. If she starts racing around again, then I'll go back to it and at least keep doing the change direction until she decides to at least trot for me. All right, no cantering, no running around me. Then I'll go from the trot to a walk using the change direction. So when I do the change direction, I simply change hands with the lunge line, the lunge whip, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now. All these videos are in full on my membership page. Just go to Google, type in Mike Hughes Horsemanship Members page, click on the link, and subscribe. When you do subscribe, also join my membership or my group page on Facebook, where you can post your videos, you working with your horse. You can put pictures on there and ask questions so I can help you and your horse more. So even though Bella already knows these exercises, if you want to learn how to teach your horse exercise, all the full videos with step-by-step easy to follow methods are on my membership page. All right, so let's get Bella going on out here. All right, so in the beginning, I want my horses to be able to stand here for about 45 seconds without going forward in a nice, calm, relaxed manner, just standing here. I don't want them to start anticipating every time I come out here on the lunge line with the lunge whip in my hand that they need to start going. I want them to be patient and wait for about 45 seconds. And then I'll go ahead and give her the forward cue and have her start lunging to the left. So I'm always going to pick the direction I want the horse to start going in. And today we're just going to have her start off by going to the left. So that's pretty good. It's been about 45 seconds. She's calm and relaxed. So now we're going to get her lunging. So I'm just going to pick up the whip a little bit, kiss to her, and let her go. So as she goes out, I can give her more rein. She wants to come back in. I'm not ready for her to come back in. So as she starts going out a little bit more, I can give her a little bit more lunge line, let the lunge line go a little bit longer. And she's starting off at a nice walk. This is how I want all my horses to start off with if they don't know it. And for example, if they're a horse that's been beat and abused, they're new, in training with me, then it will be my job to start teaching them how to start going off at a walk in a nice, calm, relaxed manner, like Bella is right here. So that's pretty nice. So this is another really great exercise to get your horse's trust and confidence back, faith in people again back, because we're using a controlled exercise that doesn't involve pain, fear, or force. And when you train your horses or you're working with your horses, any exercise you can do that doesn't involve pain, fear, or force will build the horse's confidence, trust, and faith in people. If you start using pain, fear, and force, all you're going to do is set the horse back in his training. It doesn't matter if they've been abused in the past or not, if it's a new horse, it doesn't really matter. Any horse that you use pain, fear, or force on, you're going to set them back in their training. When you break each lesson down into steps the horse can understand in a calm, relaxed manner, then you're teaching them and they're going to have trust, confidence in what you're doing, and that they can learn this in a step-by-step program that you've set up for them. Okay, so she's doing pretty good at the walk here, so we're going to start our change of direction. When I do the change direction, I'm going to take the lunge whip, I'm going to bring it underneath the lunge line and pick up a little bit of pressure there, and she's going to go back in the other direction. So now she's going to the right, and that's what we taught her how to do on the lunge line, because we didn't want her racing around us anymore. And she used to, like I said, she used to have a lot of really bad anxieties. Gotten that pretty much taken care of. She still has a little anxiety here and there. When she does, we definitely go back over these exercises. Like I said, you can't change the horse's past, but you can change their future, and the horse can overcome their past. It's like any child, any animal, any other adult that has been abused in the past. They can't change that past, but they sure can change the future, and they sure can overcome their past. On what's happened, and with horses, it's just by going through exercises that they can understand, that you break down in a step-by-step training program for them. So now we're going to go ahead and do another change of direction. I'm going to take the lunge whip, I'm going to bring it underneath the lunge line here and bring the lunge whip out to her left side and just have her change direction for me. So you can see if she was starting to race around me, you could see if I started doing the change direction, it'd be on a much longer line than this, but if I started doing the change direction, she'd have to stop her forward momentum and start going to the right. When she does that, she has to slow down. They have to slow down. If they're racing around you, they at least have to slow down to a trot, change the direction, and at least 1 or 2 steps out of walk before they start racing around again. If they start racing around again, then you just do your change of direction again. Some horses, let's say Bella was racing around right now, and I do a change of direction here. And let's say she took her a couple of steps, and then she started racing around again. I do another change of direction here. And let's say she started racing around again, then I do another change of direction here. Until the horse would at least stay in a trot for me. So now we're going to go ahead and ask Bella to go into a trot. So just kind of kiss to her a little bit, and let her go into her trot. Good girl. And this is also a really good warm-up exercise for your horses before we start riding them. We could find out a lot about our horses, how they're feeling today, by doing a warm-up exercise with them, change direction. And you can watch their tail, see if their tail is nice and loose, see if they're nice and flexible and loose in the body, see if they're their heads are sky high, or they had their heads down at a pretty decent level, if they're licking and chewing a little bit. So we could tell a little bit, a lot actually, by just doing this exercise before we ride any of our horses. So it's a really great warm-up exercise as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and have her change direction at the trot. So I'm going to go ahead and have her start trotting again. Good. Good girl. Good. And hoe right there. And then if she wants, I'll go ahead and stop. When I stop, she knows she can stop and come up to me. Then I'll pet her on the head and tell her she's doing a really good job. So there's 4 exercises you can start your rescue horses with, or even if your horse isn't a rescue horse or never been beaten, abused, you could do these exercises because they're great exercises for any horse to do, which is, again, is flexing left, flexing right, the head down cue, and doing the change of direction. Another exercise you can start with after they get really good at flexing and lowering their head is disengaging the hip. Another exercise we could do with our horses after they learn how to flex really well to the left and to the right, and they could drop their heads pretty nicely and keep their heads at the elevation you put their heads at, is how to disengage their hips. And again, what I like to do is find a nice spot here on her shoulder, and I'm going to do the same thing as I was doing when I flex her. I'm going to go ahead and lock my hand down there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cue her to start disengaging her hips over really nicely there for me. And she stayed nice and soft the whole entire time. So instead of just having her at a standstill with the flexing and dropping her head, now we're going to actually have her flex and disengage her hip. So now we're going to the right side. Again, I'm going to find a spot on her shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the line here, have her flex, and then go ahead and put a little bit of pressure on her hip and have her disengage her hip. There we go. So there's some pretty good exercises for you to start with your rescue horses on from the ground. We're going to go do some riding exercises next here, and we could do a lot of the same things under saddle that we did here on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the bridle. All right, so now we're going to go into Briarline. And when it comes to Briarline, I really like my horses to be able to drop their heads. And teaching them how to drop their heads, I'm going to rest one hand on their pole, one hand on their nose. I'm not going to push down, because if I start pushing down, the horse is going to throw their head up in the air. So I'm not going to try to force her head down or push her head down by any means. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rest one hand right here on top of her pole, one hand on her nose, and as soon as those drop, the tip of that ear just drops even a quarter of an inch, I'm going to go ahead and take the pressure off. And this will be a cue for her to drop her head. So I like using this cue not only for head and ear shy horses, but for bridling horses. I know I don't try to bridle horses way up here. I won't do that. But I want them to have their heads down. I want them to be in a nice, calm, relaxed manner when I'm bridling them. And right there, that's pretty good. So we always teach that cue first. So when we come to bridling her, I'm gonna hold the bridle like this, the top part of the headstall right here. I'm gonna put this part on her nose. I'm gonna have one hand up here. Then it's gonna be this hand down here is gonna feed it up to my right hand. I'm gonna come underneath here with the bit. I'm gonna put my thumb in her mouth just to guide it, and then it's this hand up here that put the bit in the horse's mouth, because as I had my hand down here and opened her mouth, and this hand came up, my right hand came up and put the bit in her mouth, and it's going to be this ear and then her left ear. This way we don't sit back and bang the horse's teeth if they don't know how to put their heads down or if their heads are way up in the air. This way, when they drop their heads like this, it's easier to bridle them. We're not banging their teeth. The horse is going to eventually find out, if we're banging their teeth, that the bit hurts, and pretty soon they're not going to want the bit in their mouth anymore, and it's going to be a big fight just trying to get that bit in their mouth. So always teach them how to drop their heads and to accept the bit in a calm, relaxed manner like Bella did. All right, so going on to the riding part. Before I ride any horse, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the halter. You can put your nose right there. I'm going to do the same thing with the halter that I did with the halter. I'm going to find a spot on her shoulder right here. I'm going to pick up the rein, and I'm going to have her give to the pressure. And there she's nice and soft. We'll do this from both sides. Again, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pick up the rein, lock my hand down on her shoulder, pick up the rein. As soon as she's nice and soft, and there's slack in the line in the rein, then I'm going to go ahead and release her and tell her she did a really good job. All right, so when I go to mount the horse to get on, I always face the stirrup towards me. I'm going to put my foot in. I'm going to hop around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and flex Bella here a little bit so her attention's on me. Then I go up and I'm on. The reason I flex them is because when I'm getting on or off, I want them to be paying attention to me, not paying attention to something else that's going on, somewhere else. And this way they're paying attention to me. The other thing I do is I have them stand here on a loose rein for about 45 seconds. The reason I do that is because I don't want them to start anticipating every time I get on or get off that they can start moving. More people get hurt getting on or off the horses than they do on the ground or under saddle, because the horses start moving off, and then the walk turns into a trot, the trot turns into a canter. You're trying to get on, and then you fall off, or you get your foot stuck in the stirrup or get drugged. So they always need to be patient and wait about 45 seconds. Then what I'm going to do, come here, Bella. I'm going to have her flex to the left for me. She just needs to stand here. I want to make sure she's nice and soft to the left. When I'm having horses flex under saddle, I'll bring my hand here, either towards my leg right here or the saddle horn, somewhere I can lock my hand down on. So I'm not sitting here pulling on her, and she's not pulling on me. And then we'll flex them to the right. And that's pretty nice. Good. And now we're going to go ahead and have Bella. So as we were talking earlier, when we were on the ground with Bella, teaching her how to drop her head, it's a calm down cue. They automatically relax. When they relax, they're showing more trust and confidence in you, and it's a great cue to teach any horse that, but especially horses that have had abuse, abandonment, neglect, and they have trust issues with people. So again, dropping the horse's head under saddle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take almost all the right rein, almost all the slack out of the right rein, not all the slack, but almost all the slack out of the right rein. I'm going to pick up the left rein, just put maybe a couple ounces of pressure there. Watch the tip of the ears, and as soon as the tip of the ears go down, she's bringing her head up, that's fine, then her head went down. So it doesn't matter if her head went all the way up here, as long as it dropped even just a quarter of an inch in the beginning, then I'll go ahead and release the pressure. So again, I'm going to take not all the slack, but almost all the slack out of the right rein so she can't overbend, overflex. And then I'm going to pick up on the left rein. And as soon as I see the tip of those ears drop just even a quarter of an inch, I'm going to release. Some people, some horses will stand here and they'll hold their heads up there for maybe, a minute or two or whatnot, and that's fine. And some horses start backing up, but I leave the pressure on, just a couple ounces of pressure, until I see the tip of that ear drop just maybe even a quarter of an inch to begin with. And then pretty soon you'll get them dropping their heads all the way down. Again, this is a great way to build your horse's confidence and trust in people again. Again, when they have their heads down, they're in a calm, relaxed manner. And if they're calm and relaxed with you on them, if they're calm and relaxed with you working with them on the ground, they're starting to show some trust and confidence in you again. So again, we're going to pick up one rein and have her drop her head. It's also a great cue that I teach all my horses in training. When we're out on the trails or something, we come across maybe a deer just jumped out from the brush and they just spooked a little bit. I could automatically have them drop their heads and they'll automatically relax. Then whatever it was they spooked at, then we just go by it and like it was never even there to begin with. So it's an automatic calm down cue. And there she brought her head up, so I'm asking her to bring her head back down. So again, I'm just taking all the rein, not all the slack, but almost all the slack out of the right rein, pick up on the left rein, maybe a couple ounces of pressure, and then have her drop her head. So every lesson we teach our horses is a step-by-step program. We put as many steps in that lesson plan as we can, and the more steps we could put in there, the better for the horse, and the horse can learn it in a calm, relaxed manner. And that's how we want all our horses learning things, is in a calm, relaxed manner. Whether we're working with rescue horses, building their confidence and trust, whether we're working with behavior horses and, starting to peel back them layers and listening to the horse, finding the root cause of the behavior issue so we know what exercises to do with them to solve that behavior issue, or, we're starting to unbroke horse under saddle, or we're solving some stall vice like cribbing, one sucking, weaving, stall walking. And I have the only training program out there, and it's on my membership page, on how to solve horse cribbing, weaving, and stall walking through training without any type of anti-cribbing devices. It's called Crib Free. It's an outstanding program, and a lot of people have used it throughout the world, and they have solved their cribbing, wind sucking issues with their horses, along with weaving and stall walking. So there's nothing you can't teach their horses. There's nothing your horse can't overcome, as long as you break the lesson plan down into steps the horse can understand. All right, so we're just gonna work on this head a little bit more. That's pretty good. So again, when you first get up here, you'd always want to teach them how to flex. If they don't know how to flex, you want to do it from the ground, and you come up here and you teach the same thing. All the exercises I teach my horses, I teach them on the ground, then I get in her saddle and do them. So we taught her how to drop her head and flex from the ground. There's no difference with me being up here on her saddle. The only difference is I'm on her now instead of on the ground. But the exercises are going to be the same. Yeah, I'm going to ask her to flex here. I can start disengaging her hip here. Let's kiss to her a little bit, add a little bit of pressure. Good. Good girl. And now we'll have you come to the right and disengage that hip. Good. So all the exercises you do on the ground, you're going to want to do under saddle with your horse. You're just teaching them from the ground first. And these are some pretty good exercises on the ground, especially to build your horse's confidence, trust, and faith in people again. And again, under saddle, you definitely want to get their trust again. If she wants to drop her own head, that's fine. The thing on dropping the horse's head, though, you'd never want to do it in a grassy area or where there's food on the ground, because the point behind this exercise is not to eat. It's not an eating exercise, so I don't want the horse to start putting their heads down because there's grass there. I want them to put their heads down and start lowering their heads, because that's what I taught her how to do. And she's doing it pretty good right now. She's getting her head down. And again, and I know I've said this a number of times already, when horses have their heads down, they're going to be relaxed, and they're going to start really building that trust and confidence in you again. So the next exercise we're going to show you is shoulder control and directional control with Bella here. We're going to have our owners get on, and then we'll talk about shoulder control and directional control with her. And they're also really good exercises to be working with your horses on, especially rescue horses, and building the trust and confidence again, because we've done all the pre-steps up to this point with her, so she'll be able to do the directional control and shoulder control. And as long as we don't use pain, fear, or force with any horse, you'll continue building their confidence, their trust, and their faith in people. We start resorting to fear, pain, or force, then you're just setting the horse back in their training, and the horse is going, "Look, I told you so. I told you so." And I don't want my horses in training telling me that they told me so, that I was going to do something that hurt them. And the other thing you got to remember with rescue horses before we go into this next exercise is, you got the horse to, let's say, the point where Bella is here. She totally has trust, confidence, and faith in people again. Something happens. Let's say you decided to sell your horse for some reason. If the horse goes to somebody else and they start getting really hard on the horse is just going to convert back to where they were again. All right, they're just going to go right back to it where they converted. If anybody ever got hard on them again, abusive and stuff like that again, then the horse converts back. So, if you get your horse to this point, let's say the horse was really beaten, abused, scared of you, or aggressive, or whatever the case may be, and you get them to this point where they're totally trusting you again, you might want to be very, very, very careful who you sell them to, that they don't go back to that type of environment, again, because if somebody starts getting really hard on Bella, for example, again, they really get tough on her, really hard on her, she'll just convert back to her really bad anxiety and stress issues. And so just something to keep in mind. So next we'll introduce Gabe, and he's going to start doing the shoulder control and the directional control under saddle with her. So now before we get off, we've been standing here for about 45 seconds, so we've been standing here long enough. And then so I'm going to go ahead and flex my horse just a little bit before I get off, because I want her paying attention to me before I get off. I don't want her, half asleep or staring off at something in the distance. So I'm going to go ahead and take one foot out, then I'm just going to go ahead and step off her, and then tell her she's a good girl. Okay, now Gabe's going to go into directional control, shoulder control. So he's going to go ahead and direct rein Bella, and he's just going to pick out a tree. He's going to go around that tree, then he's going to find the next tree to go around. And if you don't have trees, you can find a rock on the ground, you can find piles of horse manure on the ground to go around, or you can put cones down and go around them. But it's a great exercise. There is no pattern to this exercise that Gabe is doing with Bella right now, with the shoulder control and the directional control. So what I mean by shoulder control is we pick up the, let's say, right rein, and then Bella will start going to the right and moving her shoulders to the right. And if he picks up the left rein, she's going to move her shoulder to the left and start going to the left. And again, there is no pattern to this exercise. We don't want a pattern, because I just want the horse saying, okay, now it's this tree, now it's this tree, now it's that tree. We're going to pick out the trees for Bella to go around, and we'll keep changing reins on direct reining her from left to right, right to left, until she gets it really good. And again, Bella's been through all this. Again, all these videos are on my membership page in full with step-by-step easy to follow methods, so you can learn them how to do these exercises with your horse, plus solve behavior issues, solve stall vices, horsemanship, and a lot more, plus rescue horses. So I hope you enjoyed these videos. So like I was telling you, you ask them to drop their heads long enough, they'll yawn. I hope this video and these exercises help you and your horses out, especially if you have abuse horses, but these exercises are really good for every horse, and I would highly recommend teaching, all horses these exercises. But when it comes to teaching the rescue horse, the abused horse, how to trust and have confidence and faith in people, again, these are really important exercises, especially the head down cue exercise on teaching horses how to drop their heads. So again, I hope they help, and have a great time and enjoy your horses. Thank you.